What's up guys, it's Punchy, and today we got a pretty sizable Deepwoken update with a whole bunch of stuff to look at. Of course, there's some new special content available to everyone if you keep an eye out, but I'll do my best to explain everything new if I can. As always, try it out for yourself, but let's get right into it. First off, with a new craftable recipe, we have a tool related to Shadow. So, the new Shadow's Flight can be created with a mix of 2 Void Feathers and 1 Umbral Obsidian, and it's something different. This tool allows anyone to TP with shadow travel, but watch out because the distance is reduced and it always drains health. I think this is cool and it can be useful in a few different situations, but we'll have to see. Moving forward with more shadow content, specifically with the Twisted Puppets path, we got a well-needed buff to the talent Burning Sacrifice. This talent tool allowed us to absorb existing puppets for Flame Emperor stacks and was majorly neglected by the entire player base because it wasn't good. Now, by using this, the user should gain bonus speed per puppet collected, which could improve its usage. Next up, with a giant buff to build making, we finally have an improvement to the maximum knowledge cap. Knowledge is super important when it comes to rerolling anything on your build, and now we can basically just hold more. Instead of the very low cap of 99 knowledge, it's been multiplied, granting us a max knowledge cap of 999. So this is great, and I'm excited to stack it up. In response to the community concerns from last week, Insanity visually has been nerfed, cause seriously, that was crazy. Just to show what was added last week, contrast and desaturation at max Insanity made gameplay blinding, which supposedly has been altered and nerfed. Moving down with some new craftable equipment, this is a totally new system that we haven't seen before, and it's cool. This drip is wearable, and it's also obtainable through crafting. The new Wormward Lantern is a torso accessory that can be made at a crafting table using a specific recipe. Its special talent prevents parasites from infecting you in layer 2 at the cost of basic movement speed. The Delver boots are also very similar, needing to be crafted and building on top of something else. Now instead, these boots are used to reduce and at times entirely negate layer 2 wind, allowing for full exploration with a mix of this equipment. There's also a new talent, Command Explode, for Valve Mastery, and why would you do this? It explodes people, and that's basically it. Starting off, the insane amount of balance added in this patch, we got some crazy stuff that will definitely shift up the meta completely, and let's begin. Today, we witnessed the entire death of bombs as a whole with a large amount of nerfs and adjustments to its windup. Previously in-game, bombs could be thrown at players with an unreactable 0.3 second windup, and just for reference, that's the average human reaction speed time, which is 0.3 seconds, and that's crazy. Anyway, they were too fast, hard-hitting, and set up combos from range, which had to go. Now, in the current update, bomb windup has been doubled to a staggering 0.5 seconds, making it slower and easier to see. Besides this, a sound effect and visual were added to indicate bomb windup, so you should know what to expect after a bomb has been activated. Seriously though, rest in peace, but it was a necessary change in my opinion. Another really great update was the nerf to assassinations inside of combat. So, with specific talents, you could perform additional takedowns that dealt heavy damage, but they were really hard to see coming and react against. Before this update, assassinations in combat did 40% less damage than normal, but for some reason it wasn't working, and now it's been bug fixed and it works. So, if you're gonna assassinate now, you better be ready to throw hands instead of cheesing the entire fight. With a huge bug fix to block bypassing, many mantras have been updated to no longer ignore defense entirely. This was a pretty relevant issue that everyone was annoyed with, and we finally got the changes that we needed. First off, Prominence Draw can no longer backstab players around their block, which I think is fair for a gap closing mantra that hits hard on landing. Additionally, Fade Trimmer's Close Shave, which is basically a carbon copy of Prominence Draw, received the same exact bug fix, and that makes a lot of sense, so no more block skipping for these mantras. Now, finally, with the last backstab removal, we have Twincleave. So again, Twincleave was going through block, and that just isn't an option anymore. Additionally, with another nerf to this mantra, if you cancel Twincleave after the first slash is activated, it finally receives its full mantra cooldown. Supposedly, before if you did this, you'd have a ridiculous 4-second cooldown, which was changed to be the full 12 12-second CD. Moving on, another awesome update to visuals comes into play with a nerf to Ice Chain, I guess, windup. For some inexplicable reason, Ice Chain visuals in the past were extremely blinding and bright for no reason really, but now it's updated to no longer obscure player vision as much. In gameplay, this is still a pretty powerful mantra with great duration, but at least it's not going to destroy your visuals as well. With another small nerf to Ice and Crystal specifically, we have received a wind-up increase to Crystal Knee. Apparently, in the current meta, Knee was breaking everything with an insanely fast speed and damage after any parry trade, and evidently this was a bit too powerful, leading into a small shift in wind-up. I think after these changes, this mantra is still usable and of course powerful, but it's a bit more reactable after the shift. Moving forward onto some Iron Sync damage resistant changes, we have a reduction of 2 insanely powerful talents. Previously, Alloy Blood reduced bleed damage, not blood loss, by 50%, which now has been lowered to 30%. This was so insanely strong when stacking damage resistances, but now it's been equalized for even more balanced. Additionally, another talent, Polished Armor damage resistance, which means you take less damage at full armor, now scales based on Iron Sync investment. Overall, damage resistance stacking has been lowered, and we'll see if that helps out. Finally, with some interesting changes to weapons, we have some options to investigate. Jus Karita, our kicking style, has now been reduced in range by a slight 0.5, and honestly, this style is one of the craziest things in all of Deepwoken, and just maybe we'll see some balance with this update. Even light daggers felt a pretty small nerf with a Wailing Knife crit windup, so in full transparency, this thing came out very fast with a windup of 0.4 seconds. Alongside the free damage buffs with several talents, it wasn't fun to deal with a movement spamming Wailing Knife player, and luckily windup has been bumped up from 0.4 seconds to 0.5, making this weapon crit a bit more reactable in combat. At last, I'll wrap things up with a pretty hilarious change that was totally unexpected in my opinion. The Holotide enchant Harrowing obscures resources on M1s to hopefully shut down enemy information, and in short, it's not very good, but it got even worse with a single setting. In the settings menu, switching your health bar status to always active bypassed this enchant entirely, making it fully useless, but luckily, this bypass no longer works and Harrowing blocks info whenever it lands, so it's a buff and I'll take it. Another interesting update has been added to the Nemesis enchant, changing how its damage functions in all situations. Earlier, Nemesis just dealt the same damage every single time, but now it scales based on the damage being dealt when the marker is placed. For instance, if you uppercut to place that Nemesis marker, that damage should be the same as that attack instead of pure M1 damage. And that's all for right now, but hop in game and take on Battle Royale with your friends as the wait for Conquest continues. Trust me, we're almost there, but it's taken a while, yeah. Anyway, that's it, and make sure to like and subscribe for even more exclusive update content. We're almost at 90k subs, and let's get there. Thanks again, it's punchin' time.